1 month before my 30th birthday, I made the decision to deactivate all of my social media accounts and delete the apps from my phone. And now it's been a little over 8 months since I made that decision. And in the time since, I've learned 3 really big lessons that more or less changed my life. But before I can tell you what they were, I have to go back to the beginning. So back in June, I posted a story basically telling everybody what was going to happen and inviting people to keep in touch. And the resounding response that I got from basically everyone was, "Why are you doing this?" Which I think is a legitimate question, and there were a few reasons. I was about to hit a pretty big milestone in my life, turning 30. And I had reached a point where I had no passion or drive for anything. I got zero enjoyment from doing any of the things that I used to enjoy doing, and I felt stuck. I needed to do something to break the cycle. Reason number 2 is because I made my Facebook page when I was 15 years old. And as I approached my 30th birthday, it really sank in that I had spent half of my life on these platforms without really ever taking a meaningful break. And I actually found out that you can go back and search through your Facebook history. And so that's what I did. I went through all 15 years and didn't like what I saw at all. So in the early days of Facebook, the little status box thingy used to say, "Chris is blank." And what I saw was pretty consistently, "Chris is unhappy." And it hurt to see that. It hurt me because I realized in hindsight that by posting about it online, I had robbed myself of the ability to deal with these things in a healthy way, to create healthy coping mechanisms or a support system from my friends and family. Everything passed through this online filter. And the third reason is because I was just kind of tired of it. And I had been thinking for a while that I wanted to take a break or delete my accounts. And anytime anybody would ask me, "Well, why haven't you?" I would tell them, "Well, it's because I want to keep in touch with old friends." But the truth is, as I looked at my friends list, I realized that I wasn't really in touch with a lot of those people anymore. Even the ones who I considered to be my closest friends at some points, our paths had diverged a long time ago. I don't know where you're at in your life, but one thing I do know for certain is that you have either already experienced or you will at some point experience the end of friendships. And that's something that happens all the time. It's natural. People drift apart. But by hanging on to all of those old connections, I never really let those relationships go to rest the way that they're naturally intended to. And the people who I used to call my friends weren't really my friends anymore. They were just my followers. We were audience members for each other, participating in versions of each other's lives that we allowed each other to see. I began to realize that social media for me was an escape from reality. And the truth is that I didn't want to escape from my reality anymore. So I deactivated all of my accounts and I deleted the apps from my phone. And I committed to 6 months minimum of no social media. And before I get into the lessons that I learned during that time, I want to be upfront and say that quitting social media didn't solve all of my problems, and it's probably not going to solve all of yours. Social media is just one channel, and it's responsible for one channel's worth of noise. But that being said, it's a pretty loud one. And just removing that noise and that distraction was enough for me to learn my first lesson almost immediately. Lesson number 1 is to pay attention to the things that bother you. By removing the distraction of social media, I was able to sort of wake up and take a look around and really start to notice a lot of things in my life that bothered me and annoyed me, that I wasn't satisfied with. And once you start to notice what really bothers you about your life, you begin to realize the things that really matter. Everything else is just a distraction. My goal became, and my suggestion to you, is to remove as many distractions from your environment as possible. Dan Kennedy, the godfather of direct response marketing, calls this creating a success environment. By removing as many distractions from your environment as possible, you're able to more easily dip into a productive flow state. Alex Hormozi, who is an entrepreneur that I really look up to, he doesn't have a home office with a view. He works out of a closet because that's what it takes for him to focus. Lesson number 2 is to write stuff down. Everybody ought to make writing a daily practice. Writing is the skill that all other skills are built upon. So when I quit social media, I went out and I bought a stack of bright yellow legal pads. And the reason why I bought the big bright yellow ones is because once I eliminated the distractions from my environment, they kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. When I'm trying to build the habit of writing, it was useful for me to leave these gigantic, yellow, obnoxious writing pads around because I would see them and the empty pages would bother me. I didn't set any hard rules about when I would write or how much. Just that I would try to do it every day and that I wouldn't care if it sucked. And that was the really important part. Building the habit of using that outlet was more important to me than the quality of the work that was produced through that outlet. Because for me personally, the desire for quality is actually really, really limiting. There was a really great interview with the actor Ethan Hawke where he said, most of us want to offer the world something that people will consider good. But that's really the enemy, because it's not up to us whether what we do is any good. This is important because at the end of the day, your role as the creator is to make the thing, and it's the audience's role to judge whether or not it's any good. Quality is not a starting point. Quality is a destination that you work towards with refinement and consistency and time. On my first day after I quit social media, I wound up writing almost 10 pages. So by letting go of the pretense that whatever you make has to be good in order for it to be valid, you free yourself from a mountain of creative constraints. And that's actually a really good segue into lesson number 3, take action. I used to think that success was defined by these massive efforts. Success is more of an iterative process, a cycle of creating something and deploying it and getting results and then refining it. And the really tricky thing is that you never really arrive. There's no destination. The process is the destination. And so the most important part of it is to just start. So now that I've unplugged from social media, will I ever go back to it? Probably not. I no longer see social media as an escape, but as a tool. And the day that it stops being a tool is the day that I stop using it. Because I only have so much room in my life, and I don't want to give any of it to a distraction. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have something that you'd like to add, maybe leave a comment. I'd love to hear other perspectives. And consider subscribing. I'm gonna be putting out stuff like this pretty regularly, and so I'd love to have you around for that. Take care.